What's up, y'all? Welcome to another Successful Sundays. Sunday Successful Sundays. Welcome to another one. So today, I apologize for a little bit of the delay. I was having some issues, some technical issues when I scheduled this, but you know what? Your girl's gonna get better at it, better and better. It's gonna get much better than it is now. But today we're gonna be talking about emotional intelligence. And I was actually at work when I was thinking about this topic. The reason why I was more open to this topic is it's a little bit, I guess, diving into a personal situation I have with myself. It's where, like, back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago, maybe a little bit more, your girl wasn't the person that you see here. I had a bit of a dark side. I had a bit of a side that I was close to anger management. I was almost there. I was almost at the point where I should be seeking anger management. But then eventually I got better at it, and after having a conversation with my family that made me realize where I was in my life, it was kind of like an intervention in a way. Shout out to my siblings for doing that. I got the opportunity to really like take a look at myself, and it's probably one of the biggest flexes I have to say that I have grown my emotional intelligence to what it is today, and it shaped me to be the person that is before you today. So definitely shout out for me for that. So the purpose of this episode is just to also take back the power of our emotions. Often we will say in a situation that, they've made me upset. They've gotten me mad. But the truth of the matter is, yes, there's something that they did that could contribute to it, but we control our own emotions. And I'm going to talk about a couple of ways that you could become more aware of your emotions, but not only that, take back the power of it versus thinking that they all own it. Nah, it's yours. So I'll give you a couple of tips that's helped me throughout the way of coming from anger management to being more emotionally aware and in tune with my own emotions and how I move forward. So the very first step is to pause. Instead of thinking about a very quick response. So I'll give you an example. For me, when I get very upset, I get hot. I get hot. Blood pressure is rising. I get really warm. At that moment, for me now, that's a sign that I need to pause. So pausing is a great way for you to just take power of it, the situation at hand for yourself. Like, just take a step back, you pause, and you say, "Hey, yo, this is not for me. I know I could do much better." So that's definitely the first step I would say that's helped me take back my emotions is when they are on a rise and you take a moment to just break apart from what's really happened situation. So it prevents those knee jerk reactions. The second step that has helped me the most when it comes towards my own anger is over the last this I want to make this very clear, like the steps I'm providing right now that's helped me the most, these are steps I've used over the last like to 15, probably more years, close to 20 years. And so they these are implemented a lot. Even now that I have a good control of my anger and I'm a lot more patient with things, these are still like my key go-to steps to take. The second one is like acknowledge my emotion. So being a Caribbean child, I was kind of sort of taught to suppress a lot of my emotions. And as I got older and I spoke to now other adults of, Caribbean descent parents or first time immigrants or whatever the case, now that we're older, they've said the same thing. They've had to suppress a lot of their emotions. So number two is acknowledge the emotion. Instead of suppressing it, recognize what you are feeling. Give it the name. I am upset because of X, Y, and Z. Not so much they made me upset, but I'm upset because of X, Y, Z. The cool thing about this awareness, it helps you understand exactly what you're feeling. So going back to number one, you're not making that knee jerk reaction of probably want to thumping somebody in their face. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. The third step is reflection. They all kind of work in conjunction with reflection, but the third step is reflection. You want to reflect on past situations where you didn't feel like you could emotionally be yourself. I know for many times I was told, don't cry, don't cry. You don't need to cry. Nah, maybe I do really need to cry. Maybe I do need to be angry. Maybe I do need to cuss a little bit. You know what I mean? Versus like keeping all of that inside because maybe I'm not going to realize as I get older that there's a certain part of that will trigger me as I get older. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I feel when this reaction like how did it feel after that reaction? Self-reflection helps you identify the patterns and helps creates a plan for for similar situations when it comes the next time because unfortunately as much as we grow, people will be pissing us off. Like situations will be pissing us off, people will be pissing us off. There's nothing we could do about it. But what we can do is protect ourselves. Most importantly, if they want to go on the antics, that's their business, but we can protect ourselves. The fourth one is understand other people's perspective. Now, I don't mean understanding to the point where you are diminishing and dishonoring and devaluing your own emotions and feelings, but I understand and just understand their point of view. And going back to number one, if you didn't pause, you will not see their point of view. All you're going to see is red. You will not see their point of view because you feel like you're being attacked. You feel like you're being disrespected. So you're not going to see their point of view. That's why pause is so important as number one. And then going back to number four, just trying to understand from an empathy position how you can manage your response towards them, not again a knee-jerk reaction or a place of anger or a place where you are not honoring your own emotions and feelings, but more of the fact that you kind of understand where they're coming from. Number five is your emotional vocabulary. This one was a little tricky for me, because I had to start to learn, I had to unlearn not articulating my feelings and my emotions. I'm still going through it, and relearn how to articulate my feelings, emotions, because kind of going back to my childhood, I don't believe I don't think I would not say I wasn't allowed, but I didn't have the space to feel comfortable to say I really don't like that. What do you mean I like that? You know what I mean? Like that's always like a bit of reaction. So now being an adult now, it's giving my emotions the vocabulary and the words that they're needed. And by doing that, I also feel like I honor my younger self because she needed that space. So now I'm taking up that space and I'm taking up the power of my emotions and I'm saying, hey, yo, really and truly, I don't like when you do that. And I would appreciate if you stopped. Like just giving you an example. Number six is kind of injunction number one. When you pause, take deep breaths. If you just take like three in through your nose, out through your mouth, and also do this when you don't need to. Just do that maintenance. You know what I mean? Like one day I was doing it at work and my coworker thought I was stressed out. And I said, nah, I'm just, maintenance. And then he started doing it. So it's just like taking that step back and taking back your power and just in those moments, if a person's really getting on or situation at that is really getting on your nerves, take those three deep breaths, yo. And then you'll find yourself wanting to pause and figure out what you're feeling and articulate it in a way of respect versus that knee jerk reaction. Number 7 is my home of all homes, which is therapy. I love me some therapy. If you were to say this to me maybe 6, 7 years ago, I'd be like, "Hell no." But therapy has legit saved my life on many occasions. So if you feel like you can't do the work by yourself in terms of your own anger and own anger management, I mean, I was able to do it, but I also after a while started attending therapy. Once I started attending therapy, it all kind of clicked together. So I highly suggest finding someone that you could speak with, that you have similarities. That is like so important. It sucks when you have a therapist that people give you or something or organization provides you when you realize that person probably doesn't even know an inch of where you're coming from towards cultural differences and things like that. So I would highly suggest you find a therapist, or counselor or whatever you're comfortable with, so you can find that similarity so they can understand a little bit of the shoes that you're in the situations that you're in. And number 8, which I I could say this from a top of a mountain. I'm in Toronto, so I'll say this from top of CN Tower. Set your boundaries, and it's never too late to set your boundaries. It's setting your boundaries, especially what I've learned, is protection for you and your mental health, right? And many times we were trying to set boundaries even as youngsters, but depending on what environment we were in, we were kind of told you're being rude or you're being disrespectful, but it's your intuition was telling you that you really didn't like something, and you're saying, "Hey, yo, I really don't like this. Could we not?" But unfortunately, it's seen as disrespect. So even now, if you're setting boundaries with families, friends, yourself, but particularly I'm talking about family, friends, and other people outside of yourself, they may look at it as a sign of disrespect. But in a grand scheme of things, it has nothing to do with disrespect because by not setting that boundary, you're disrespecting yourself. By setting the boundary, you're just protecting yourself. You feel me? And especially if they've been doing it for so long, it's going to become a bit tricky for them to now accept the fact that, well, I've been doing it for so long. It didn't bother you then. It's always bothered me. Not just every time I brought it up, you dismissed it. But I'm gonna sincerely set this boundary, and I ain't moving from it. So those are my 8 tips. I'll go through them again just in case anyone else missed them. The very first one is pause before reacting. Acknowledge your emotion that you're feeling. Practice self reflection as much as you can. Number 4, which is understand the other person's perspective without diminishing and dishonoring yourself. Develop emotional vocabulary of how you express your feelings. Mindful breathing and grounding techniques, such as deep breathing. Take 3 deep breaths. Do it as much as you can. As much as you may want to do self work, it's also important to have outside work as well and seek help through therapy, counseling, whatever you feel comfortable with. And then number 8 is set boundaries. And the reason why I came up with this list again was just to kind of like break down an easier way of how to work through anger. I notice more people are more angry in this world. And it's kind of sort of sad to see, but at the same time, it's just a level of stress that we all have. And we have to start taking power back of our own emotions and not put it all on, well, a person made me feel that way. At the end of the day, we control our own emotions. We control how we want to feel. We control because a person could call me every name in the book and I'll tell them to have a great day because I don't give a I ain't trying to get YouTube to knock me off of live stream. I just started, but I really don't give a shit when it comes towards it. And the more that you do that work, I can't say I was always like this. I would cuss back and be very angry and hold it in for not just hours or moments, but days on end. But the more that you do the work, you realize that you control your own anger and it's not worth, or your own emotions, sorry. And it's not worth giving anyone else the power of your own emotions. So that's all I got for Successful Sundays. That's all I got. I do appreciate y'all for hopping on for those who did come on. I'd always told y'all. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you love the tips. I'm gonna re-upload this so that those who couldn't make it will have a chance to see it because at the end of the day, we are trying to take back the power and agency of our own self versus giving it to other people, especially people who abuse it, and especially people who don't even care for it. And I hope that if anyone's on a little bit of an anger journey, that you come off of it and you use some of these tips because the light on the other end of the tunnel, I'm proof of it. I'm living proof. It's so much more brighter than sitting there and being so angry. So I'll see you next week for another successful Sunday. As always, y'all, walk with peace and walk with love.